Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of Minds on Guard, where we're learning how to guard our minds against all of the manipulations, attacks, and attempts at thought and behavior control that we come under today here in the 21st century. In tonight's video, we're going to continue our discussion on the concept of psyops by taking some time to speak about symbols. What they are, how they work, and some basic fundamental things that we need to carry with us in all of the study that is contained on this channel. This video will be a bit more brief than some of the previous ones, but I want to have this one be a standalone reference point in the series in order to refer back to the information that is contained here as easily as possible. What we discuss here tonight will be applicable to literally every other video, both past and present, not to mention quite literally everything we will ever come into contact with in our lives. Symbols are quite literally everywhere, all around us, and appear in so many forms that it would take more than a lifetime to fully exhaust the ways in which we interact with them. The idea of reference is a foundationally important one, and I want those watching to note this term and consider it as deeply as possible. Before we get too ahead of ourselves with terms and discussion, a few definitions are in order. First, the term symbol, as we will be using it, means something that stands for or suggests something else by reason of relationship, association, convention, or accidental resemblance. From this definition, it's clear that symbols can be and are quite literally anything to which we're able to assign meaning. Take some time to think about that and ask yourself if you have ever considered what a symbol is and what it means that they exist. What are you learning when you think about this kind of thing? Please leave a comment about your initial thoughts regarding the ubiquity of symbols in reality. If you don't have any thoughts or are thinking that this is a simple or obvious observation, I challenge you to consider the question a bit more. I can recall the first time that I considered the meaning of the existence of symbols in light of the fact that their function is to represent things generally. Now, that is no small observation. It means that anything you ever think or have the capacity to perceive, this action and process is only possible through the manifestation of symbolic representation in such a way that our brains are able to ascertain meaning. As such, what we experience as reality is, in its entirety, symbolic. Everything, down to its very essence, exists as some symbol by necessity of its existence. I mentioned this in a previous video, but even the very notion of our existence depends on the symbolic representation of that concept in reality. If it were not real and true, we would cease to be. This leads to some pretty massive questions regarding why we're here at all and what our purpose is. I personally hold to a set of beliefs and answers that are found in the Bible. It also has some pretty massive implications regarding the topic of this video series, that being psyops. Think about it. If reality itself and our existence in it depends fundamentally on the symbolic representation of things, such that we're able to assign meaning and value, then it's quite possible for any motivated actor to seize upon that fact and work to incept any number or variation of symbols that would manipulate, obfuscate, and otherwise alter the authentic original symbols which represent reality into something different, which cause people to first perceive and then accept the altered version or versions that have been given. Now, given the right sort of skills and intelligence, this could be accomplished to such a degree that it would become nearly impossible to distinguish the difference between the authentic original and the manipulated simulation of that first version. Now you can cue the Matrix quotes and the colored pill references now. But seriously, that should get everyone watching thinking about the very high and real potential for this to have already happened as many times as any person or group may endeavor to achieve. This kind of behavior is done every single day at every measurable level of human engagement with the world. The media exists and thrives on this kind of thing. But more than that, we do it to ourselves and those around us all the time. If you have ever told a lie, you know what I'm speaking about. I like to call this kind of thing hacking reality. Now that's not my term, but it's certainly useful and it gets the idea across. It describes what's being done when some entity tries to alter the meaning of the symbols that we're using or observing in our interactions and relationships. In order to do that, the manipulation is often aimed at what any symbol is representing. This is where the second term for this video comes in, that being referent. This term, referent, is crucial to being able to understand what any symbol is doing and how it is functioning in reality, whether that be authentic reality or some altered manipulation. A dictionary definition that we can carry with us is one that refers or is referred to, especially the thing that a symbol, such as a word or sign, stands for. So, where symbols are something which represents a thing, its referent is the thing which is being represented. What's interesting about this is that a referent is itself a symbol, in that in order for us to understand that there is something being represented, it must occupy thought space in our minds in such a way which will allow us to ascertain its meaning and value in reality. This behavior is by nature symbolic. Now this may seem like a simple concept again, but I caution everyone to not overlook what it means when it comes to how we're able to perceive and understand reality. Think about what this means regarding everything you see, touch, smell, think, and do. This is truly a staggering thing to comprehend. There are implications contained here which track all the way to the ultimate source of all there is, namely God and how He has designed reality. I say this in open, transparent acknowledgement that I do not fully understand the implications of this, but bring it to the table so that we can have some fundamental blocks to work with when it comes to understanding what we see in the media, online, and coming from various governmental, corporate, and special interests which feed us symbol after symbol every moment of every day. Ultimately, all of what we deal with in all areas of life are symbols and their reference. Even the metaphysical behaves in this way in our minds. It's only due to the limitations of the material world that we cannot fully comprehend the depth and scope of reality fully. Now, we can do a pretty good job given our condition, yet we are locked in a limited dimensional framework. And as such, we're only able to understand incomplete aspects of much of reality, especially the parts that are beyond the physical. That being the case, and with respect to the topic of psyops, it's important that we understand that symbols may have one or many referents depending on the narrative or specific point of view of the source of the symbol's assigned meaning in any context. What we need to be able to work toward is to see through the initial layer of the symbol being presented and ask a series of clarifying questions about the source of any message being communicated through the images and symbols that we see. What is the symbol referring to? Could it be referring to multiple things? Who is conveying any set of information through any symbol? What do they believe about the things that they're communicating? What is their history? Is the symbolism that they're using original to them and the time period in which it's being conveyed, or are any symbols being repurposed in some way? If so, how? Is any symbol being used to cause some kind of affect in my or other people's emotions? If so, which emotions are being targeted? There are many more questions to be asked when it comes to the presence of symbols in psyops. Now, this may seem like a daunting task, but it's an extremely important one to put at least a little bit of effort toward, particularly today where our senses are being overloaded to levels that humans have never had to deal with before. If we're able to gain the skills in parsing out the layered meaning of the symbols contained in all of the various operations of the media today, we will be better equipped to stay on guard during more and more sophisticated attacks that are coming our way. We will be able to track the use of symbols and identify their reference as either being accurate to how reality truly works, or whether we're being shown some manipulation that's designed to appear real. This video really only scratches the surface of symbolism and all that comes into play with that topic. It's truly, truly vast, but I think it will prove helpful when it comes to dealing with what we see in our day-to-day lives. At least we'll have some terminology to bring with us when we approach any sort of further study when it comes to psyops. And we'll continue next week by diving back into a news story depicting a current event and see if we're able to use all of the things that we've been learning to parse out what is really being said. Until next time, stay safe, stay diligent, and stay vigilant, keeping your minds on guard.